with Robaert Kiyosaki. Hopefully we can get him on. The other day, it took us an hour nearly to get my dad on. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Robaert on. Robaert, how you doing?
Hello.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Patrick.
Hang on. We can hear you. We just need to turn the volume up. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, good. Nice. By the way, just so you know, I have my 8-year-old son who's doing homework with me right now, sitting right next to me. Can you say Robaert? Can you say hi? You don't want to say it. He's a cat bit his tongue, but one day he's going to do a lot of talking. So.
All right. All right. You might just go further up.
Right.
Give me 1 second here.
Sure.
All right. Now we can hear you.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I can't hear.
Say something.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Robaert, how you feeling? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic. I'm worried about the world, but I'm doing good.
So I got to tell you, you're the first person that's going to know this. You know who I just had on Valuetainment for the last 2.5 hours?
Who?
David Icke.
Are you in trouble yet?
Not yet. I spoke to the attorneys, and my approach I took with the interview is a very, very different kind of an interview. And it was a very different kind of an interview, but we'll see what's going to happen. It was heated. From the beginning to the end, it was heated. So we'll see how this interview does, whether the powers of YouTube are going to let this thing stay up or not.
I was wondering about that, because like you and I both went to war, and I didn't fight for this. This is communism. I mean, how in the world can they take away the First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech and the right to assemble? That's all the First Amendment. And so they have social distancing, and they take down London Real and Brian, what's his name, Alex Jones. And I'm not for or against them, but it's the principle of the thing. And we're losing our constitutional rights. That's what and then I get attacked. I get attacked for talking anything about that. What's happened to our constitutional rights? And I get called, a tin hat or a tinfoil hat or whatever it is. And, it's a frightening time right now. It's frightening.
So I have a question for you. I'm curious to know what you think about this. Say Robaert Kiyosaki is the chairman of the board of YouTube. Okay, let's just say Robaert Kiyosaki is the chairman of the board of YouTube. You own 51% of YouTube, okay? And meaning you control all the decisions. And mainstream media cannot stand you because you're allowing anybody to create content, and they're calling themselves journalists, and they didn't go to the right school to call themselves journalists. So ABC, CBS, CNN, a lot of these guys cannot stand the content creators on YouTube. At what point, as a chairman of the board of YouTube, would you decipher between what kind of content you will let on and what you want? Because a lot of times when these types of platforms are created, some people say we can let everything on. Well, then maybe you're a porn site. And then if you leave anything on, well, maybe some criminals can get on. And so how would you, this is a very sensitive topic, and I'm curious to know how you would answer this. How would you filter out content that can stay on and content that cannot stay on?
That's not an easy question. But the reason I'm saying what I'm saying, it's the First Amendment. We've crushed. So let's say they take off London Real. Brian Rose is a great guy. He's an educator.
No question.
You and I are educators. So they've got to consider at least who the presenter is and what's their motive. They take off Alex Jones, and apparently they take him off because he supported Trump or something. Like, I don't know, I hear all these rumors. And then Zero Hedge or something, they're taken off. So anybody who violates what they call the elite or Silicon Valley, we're in trouble. And so I am hesitant to say anything today. That's the worst part about it. And my friend, when you were on my program, I was talking about your book, Wartime Leader and Peacetime Leader. Today, if you're a wartime leader, they kill you. And that's what's frightening about this whole thing. You know, like I go to my friend's restaurant, he's out of business. And that's called social distancing, is called the right to assemble. You know, I went to a party the other night and we felt like we were back in prohibition time, you know, like we're just friends getting together. And my doctors are there and all that, you know, and they're going, boy, if everybody found out about this, they'd come and lock us up. Or just like that guy in Malibu who was, paddle surfing and they towed him in. Do you know what I mean? There is something so sinister about this whole thing. And then, you know, when I was on Twitter, which my doctor gave me the stats on coronavirus. I got attacked. And said, stay in your lane. Don't you dare touch that. Then I talked to another friend who was a doctor, and he said he got taken down off of YouTube and Twitter and all the, you know, which I don't know much about. So my concern is we're messing with a power that has authority over the Constitution of the United States. Remember that Supreme Court Justice, what was his name, Kavanaugh or something? He gets accused and he's guilty until proven innocent. What is happening? That's my concern. Is how can somebody, and you know, like even my friend Jim Rickards, you know, of Currency Wars and all that, he treads lightly on it. He calls them the elites. He doesn't name them. And the guys that named them get taken down. That's my concern. So I'm going to mind my P's and Q's, because as the guy said to me, vaccines, Bill Gates, Robert Kennedy Jr., that's not your territory. But I do know a lot about vaccines, and it's big business. Let's just say that.
Robert, did you vaccinate your kids, or you take vaccines yourself, like flu shots? Do you take any of that, or no?
No,
not
I
at all.
don't have children, and I don't know. You know, I really don't know, because it's not been it really hasn't been in my mind. I went to this thing called the Red Pill Expo up in Bozeman, Montana, put on by G. Edward Griffin, the guy who wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island. That is one of the most powerful classic books written. And so I go to this event, and the press calls us white supremacists. That's how they said this red pill is a bunch of white supremacists. And I said, God, when did I turn white? You know, that's what I said. They didn't think it was too funny. But they never even showed up. They already branded us as white supremacists, but it was the first time, this was about 4 or 5 years ago, I saw these nurses running around in their little nurses outfits, you know. So I asked them, so what the heck are you guys doing here? This is supposed to be, you know, the red pill is about the matrix. You know, you see the truth, or you see the blue pill, you see the bullshit. So these nurses are running around and said, why are you guys here? And they said, what we're protesting is the insurance companies, the health insurance and big pharma. They require us to inject drugs into people who don't need it to keep the price high. And it said, when we refuse to inject whatever they inject, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. They said, we can't do it in good conscience. We're killing people, or we're just jacking up the bill. And only until I went into the emergency room for one stitch, when I got the bill for $34,000, did I get the message. And then I went to another red pill. This time it was in Connecticut. And there was a doctor who stood up there and he explained the business of vaccines. And that's not it, what I'm threatened on all the time on Twitter and the David Icke and those guys. The business model of a vaccine is they cannot be sued if the vaccine kills somebody. So that takes away the whole impetus of responsibility. And then they said there's so many vaccines now that they don't really have to track them. But the biggest thing is this: if they can get it mandated that the vaccine be mandatory, and then the business model works. Do you know what I mean? Could you imagine the government said everybody had to watch Patrick Bet David and buy his products? That's really what it's about. So apparently, on my Twitter, I drifted into pharma, big pharma. And I talked to my friend who was a doctor who was taken down because he was saying the same thing. He says, you just stepped on Superman's cape. Don't go there. It's too big a business. So anyway, this powers to be, Patrick, that you and I are just small little potatoes in, and guys like David Icke are the lightning rods. And I watched what David Icke said, and it's out there, but I don't think it's that bad personally. So I don't get it. Why take him down? Why take London Real down? Why take Brian Real down? Why take you down? Why take me down?
So
that's what I'm concerned about. And why shut restaurants down?
I sent a message to Brian. Brian and I communicated, I think 2 days ago, and I told him, I said, this has got nothing to do with YouTube. This isn't a YouTube thing. Did you watch the interview done with the CEO of YouTube with ABC? Did you ever watch that 60 Minutes?
No.
I think once we're done here, Robert, remind me to text you the link. I think you and Kim have to watch that interview.
Okay.
And you will see the level of discomfort with ABC, with content creators, with what YouTube is doing. ABC is saying, why are you letting anybody create content? They're becoming journalists. He says, no, we don't consider ourselves that. We consider ourselves a social media platform. So mainstream media is not happy about people like Brian Rose, who are sometimes getting more views than what they're getting, and that's not very comforting. But the part that gives me more comfort, Robert, today than before is the following. Like, my biggest challenge with China is, I think a lot of the issues with China would be solved if they allowed Facebook, YouTube, Twitter in China, where we could see what's going on. And 18-year-olds will be posting videos and saying, look what's going on over here, look what's going on over there, look what's going on over here. We would know the reality of what's going on in China. For example, I had the former the Shah of Iran's son and I had a meeting together in Washington, D.C. It was a good 4-hour meeting we had together. I was there. I kind of watched Mike Lee and Ted Cruz do some stuff, and then I went and spent some time with him. We sat at the back of an Italian restaurant, phenomenal food. And he was telling me with his campaign, the team that he had, what's going on in Iran. I said, what's really going on in Iran? He says, I really think Iran is ready for a revolution. I said, why are you so confident? Because I was part of it. He said, the reason why there's confidence for that to take place is because women in Iran blog more than any other country in the world based on per capita, meaning based on the population that they have. They're blogging. I said, so what is that doing? He said, the world is seeing it from their point of view of what Iran is really like. And a lot of the folks around the world that are saying, listen, human rights, that's just not fair what you're doing. Eventually, there's going to come so much pressure that they're going to be forced to change, because power to the people, we the people, the whole nine. I don't think social media serves the powerful people in the world. I think if there's any community that hates social media, it's the powerful people. They can't stand it. You know that. So my hope is that enough of these folks are going to keep talking. And, some of the stuff David says can be a little bit sensationalized. And some of the stuff Alex Jones said was about the Pizzagate. That was the thing that got him in trouble, by the way. It wasn't Trump. He said some stuff about Pizzagate that got him in trouble. And that's why they took it down. But my comfort comes in knowing that enough people are getting access to information to start questioning things and educating themselves. It's going to be very hard to go up against a community like that. What do you think about that?
I agree. And just to let you know, I think you and I are walking the line. And I think that's that's why your piece on wartime leader and peacetime leader is, I think we better become peacetime pretty quick, because we're going to get crushed. So I hate to say that, because I'd rather fight. I think I created social distancing as 250 yards. I can hit at 250 yards. And that got taken down too. So it's just not ordinary times. And I think if I could explain why I do what I do, but I'm going to be walking the line, if you know what I mean. because exactly as my doctor said, because he got taken down, he says, you stepped on Superman's cape. And that Superman's cape, and that's the battle between Robert Kennedy Jr. and Bill Gates. And those are two rich kids, and you and I are not rich kids. So we'd better walk the line, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's better to back off like we talked about. So that's where I'm at, but I'll walk the line on this next thing as to why I'm involved, why you're involved in what we're saying. But it's unconstitutional. How can you shut down my friend's restaurant? He's broke. You know, I talked to my personal trainer, and, you know, he says to me, his wife just lost her job, so he's broke too now. They both lost their jobs because he can't train. That's more damaging than anything I know to a person's psyche, their emotions, you know, and stuff like that. So I think we're playing with dangerous people, and they look like you and me. Do you know what I mean? So it's best not to say anything because you don't know who we're talking to. And anyway, is it okay if I talk about what I know?
Is it okay if you talk about it?
Yeah. No, I'm going to tell you why I'm walking the line and what I think is really going on. Okay? Or
No.
Let's talk more about.
Listen,
You know,
I'm curious to know what's on your mind, so go for it.
Okay, so it's why I started Rich Dad Poor Dad, because that's why I crossed over the line when I was talking about vaccines being big business. It's killed more people than this. You know, I've had vaccines, but my mother was a registered nurse, and she wouldn't vaccinate us. So I'm telling you something. They know. And I think the problem is people look to you and me for the courage to say what they don't say. And that's why we have to be careful. I was on a trip with Steve Burke, who's the CEO of NBC Universal. And he says, you guys are killing us. You know, it's true. We're killing big media. We're saying things that, you know, and big media is controlled by the government, as you know, that they can't say anything. So when guys like you and I pop up and Brian Rose pop up or Alex Jones pop up and all the guys that pop up, then it's like whack-a-mole. You know, how do they contain us? And I think that's really the problem. So they violate the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, you know, political correctness. I can't say anything. The other thing that's disgusting is that we elevate, we acknowledge the victims and step on the heroes. Do you know what I mean? It's very spooky times.
How does this cycle get stopped? Because the cycle, you know, if the cycle goes the way it does, where you create a system where, like for instance, the way we have our system, a president can only be a two-term president, right? Outside of FDR, who was a 3 or 4-term president. George Washington didn't want to do that because he says, I'm not a king, I'm a president. Somebody else can do my job, and they get replaced, right? How do you prevent that from happening, where the powerful people, you know, they pass the torch to the next person? Because I think the system that we have here, somebody else comes in and takes over. Is it that concerning to you, where you worry somebody at your phase of your life, you're worried about this long term, or you foresee a solution where eventually they can't go the way they're going right now because someone's going to put a stop to this?
So Patrick, let me just say it this way. You and I got to become peacetime leaders. Your job is too important. There's too many people that look to you for leadership right now. You get taken out, and they will take you out. They've lost a leader. Just remember that all the people that look up to you for guidance and moral support and vision and all that, that's your job. So I'm just giving you back what you gave to me. You better become a peacetime leader pretty quick, because you go into war on this one, there's people much bigger than us will kill us. So that's what I'll tell you what I know, and I'll stay in my lane as I've been threatened constantly. So this is it here. This is how I see the all. me show you this. I can see this.
We can
This
see
is
it.
called the Dow Jones Industrial Average, okay? And what you see here is 1929. That crash was nothing. But they brought in Social Security. They took away gold, 1933. So it goes along. So in 1971, Nixon takes a gold dollar off the gold standard. So that's why I wrote this book here. It's called Fake. Okay, it's fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. Because in 1972, in January of 1972, I arrived in Vietnam. Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 71, August 15th. I didn't know anything about it because Nixon announced it on the TV show Bonanza. So I'm now flying off a carrier in Vietnam as a Marine pilot, and I get this letter from my rich dad. He says, hey, watch out. They just took the dollar off the gold standards, my rich dad. My poor dad, an academic, they're school teachers, they're clueless. You know what I mean? They're in Disneyland. So my rich dad says, hey, watch out. So here, and in fake, it's fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. And I said, what the hell is gold? Because in 1933, they made it illegal for Americans to own gold. I thought that was really strange. So my co-pilot and I fly behind enemy lines, and we're looking for gold. Marines aren't the brightest guys on earth. Then when we get there, we're now, we're about 10 miles behind enemy lines, negotiating with a Vietnamese woman to buy gold, and we realize we don't even know what gold is. That's how clueless we are. See, when they take gold out of money, they can print as much as they like. And so that's what I write about in Fake. It's fake money. And that's where this whole problem starts. So it relates to London Rail, to David Icke, because it's the same thing. So it chugs along here, and I'm going, and things are fine, but I'm now searching for answers. So in '83, I read this book by Buckminster Fuller, considered one of the greatest geniuses of our times, invented the geodesic dome, and he talks about this, the grunge of giants. And I thought that was strange. So this is 83, 71 to 83. Grunge stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. I read that book. It's not a very good book, small book, but I understood it. And that's what the conspiracy guys come in and say, oh, you're a tin head, or whatever they call you. You're a conspiracy guy. I'm going, well, maybe there is. And it goes to the Fed. So then you have guys like Ron Paul and all this attacking the Fed. The Fed, in my opinion, is a criminal organization because its mandate is a lie. It's not here to protect you and I. The Fed protects the rich. And nothing wrong with it. I understand. You got to have your association. The AMA protects doctors and the Fed protects the rich. I understand. I just chose to be on the side of the rich. So I like what they do. So if I read in '83, Grunge of Giants, and suddenly I can see this happening. So this is the Dow. It goes up. That's 2000. That was a dot-com crash. 2008, subprime crash. This is 2020. And the question is, how far is this crash going to go? And this is my point here. I think the coronavirus is to cover up this. And I'll probably get, if I'm dead tomorrow, you'll know why, it's because I was on your program. So let me show you what happened here. So this is what I did. So I documented exactly as Fuller said, to document what you do. So here is '83, I read Grunge of Giants. This is the cash flow game. So in 96, oh, it came off. 96, I created the cash flow board game, okay? And it was my wife and I. And we did that because what Fuller called an artifact. So they could kill me, but my artifact is now all over the world. And we're playing with some dangerous people. Grunge, Gross Universal Cash Heist. So I created the cash flow board game with Kim in 96. Then I wrote this book here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to explain the cash flow board game because, as you know, there's no financial education in our schools. So then I get attacked by the elites who run the university systems I say, why don't you guys teach us about money? Because you're just as criminal as the Fed. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. So that's my poor dad. So the world is run by bureaucrats who are like my poor dad, very smart people, but they know jack about money, and that includes the Fed. 900 PhDs in the Fed, and they haven't got it right yet. Why? Because they work for the rich guys. See, the Fed is a cartel. The Fed is not U.S. You know what I mean? It's not owned by Americans. It's a cartel of very rich guys like the Rothschilds. That's the problem. You mess with those guys. So then it goes up. So in 1997, so 1996, I create the cash flow board game, Artifacts. So Patrick, if they take me out, this stuff's already here. So I write Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then this one here is, oh, Prophecy. So I write this book. I started in 1999. And I said the biggest stock market crash in history would come in 2016. So I was recording it because I understand the game of money. So here's 2000. And I wrote in there, because I'm a surfer, and every surfer knows this is big wave surfers, not short break. Short break are just, but a big wave surfer, which I dreamed of becoming at one time, knows that ocean swells come in sets of 3. Go up, down, and they crash in 3s. So every surfer knows that. I mean, I didn't do well in school, but I did well in surfing. So I knew, so on schedule came the first crash, 2000.com. There was also Y2K, if you remember. Which was, I didn't understand that one either. So then here it goes back up again in 2008. So that's the second wave. So 1, 2, 3 waves. So I'm a surfer. I'm going, oh, there it is. They're printing more money. We're going back to here. They can print as much as they like to keep, the Fed keeps printing the money to bail out the rich. That's what Creature from Jekyll Island says. The name of the game is the rich get bailed out. You and I get screwed. So they privatize the winnings, the rich, and they socialize the losses. So when they bail it out, that means you and me, the peasants of the earth, we pay for it, but the rich get bailed out. So here I am, I'm on CNN. So you guys can go to richdad.com. You'll find me on CNN proving, everything I do is I prove what I know. So I'm on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and I said, in January, I believe it was, I said, hey, Lehman Brothers is going to go down. And Wolf goes, I was never invited back, but I got it in. You know what I mean? I got it in. And so, so go to richdad.com, watch me on Wolf Blitzer calling the crash of Lehman Brothers. But it wasn't the crash of Lehman Brothers, it was to cover up the crash that was coming. So that sucker goes down. So Lehman Brothers, I think, went down in September of 2008. So I gave guys 6 months warning that this crash was going to come. Again, I'm a dumbass surfer, but I do know the feeling of waves. When you're surfing out there as a kid, it's a sixth sense because it's spiritual. You can feel it. You can feel it. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming, like this. So it goes down here, hits there, and so I said it's going to come in 2016. So that was prophecy. Again, I wrote prophecy. This came out in 2002, so I was ahead. I documented it, created an artifact, as Buckminster Fuller said. And it goes, I said it was going to come in 2016. But what I did not foresee, I didn't see the cell phone in 2007. I didn't know what quantitative easing did not exist at that time, nor did ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. I went, holy mackerel. So they were trying to, so it should have come in 2016, but because of quantitative easing, ZIRP, plus Bitcoin came out in 2009, plus cell phone is 2007, all this changes would happen, so it held it up. So I get called by, Wall Street Journal tore me apart for prophecy. They just tore me. They said, well, big deal, where is it? I said, it's still coming. So then in September 2019, the repo market, the shadow banking system hemorrhages. It hemorrhaged. And so the Fed goes into $1 trillion bailout, trying to stop the shadow banking system from going. Meanwhile, the stock market keeps going up. And mom and pop have no idea what the shadow banking system is. That's where the Fed comes in. So that thing kept going up. And I said, something's going to happen. And voila. So 2019, shadow banking market crashes. So I knew something was coming. I didn't know what it would be, but something was going to come because the Fed had to print trillions and the Treasury. 2020 on schedule, coronavirus. On schedule. So I was 4 years off just because I didn't see quantitative easing because it didn't exist in 1999, or ZIRP. Who would think money would go to ZIRP, zero interest rate policy? So 2020, it goes down. The question is, how far will it go? I never thought they would shut down the whole freaking world economy. I never thought they would damage people like you and me. I never thought that my friends who are doctors are going broke because they have to shut down their centers. Never, commercial real estate is going bust. And, the guys who own retail shops and all this, they're just turning in their keys. These guys, Grudge, Gross, Universal, Cash Eyes, look it up, Buckminster Fuller. And this is where I get nailed, and that's what happened with David Icke, because he's talking about these guys who control the Fed and the Treasury and politics. It's global. It's not an individual. So here it is. The question I have to ask everybody, how far is this going to come down? That's the question. So, Patrick, you and I better become peacetime leaders pretty quick because the war is on. You get my drift?
Robert, you okay if we allow the audience to ask you a few questions because they're dying to ask you questions?
Wait, I just want you and I to have a conversation. You're too important. When you said you interviewed David Icke, you're on the list right now. Be careful. Okay?
My attorney said the same thing.
What's that?
My attorney, they all said the same thing.
Right. And when I came out with Prophecy, this came out again, and I wrote it in 1999, came out in 2002. Wall Street came after me because Wall Street is in cahoots with the Federal Reserve Bank. And that's where I go back in time. 1992, I wrote Fake Money, Fake Teachers, Fake Assets. My other book is, Who Stole My Pension? Our pensions are stuffed with toxic assets. Retirement is what they're covering up. The old guys like me are hosed. The baby boomers are hosed, will never retire. The 401ks are gone. Australia's superannuation is gone. Canada's RRSP is gone. So, Patrick, we're messing with some pretty interesting people. And so then I wrote this book here years ago also. It's called Retire Young, Retire Rich. I wrote that for the millennials. I said, you guys better get out of this mess pretty quickly. Get out. If you're counting on your 401k or your IRA or your superannuation or what you guys people, or your whatever, or your pension, that was my book, Who Stole My Pension, just came out in 2020. So I'm on time, I'm on schedule, I'm delivering. I have what Fuller called, Buckminster Fuller, the artifacts. They can kill me now. I got my cash flow game out. It's people teaching people all over the world. Screw the school system. Screw them. Okay, so that's what I am. So, Patrick, you and me, brother, we better get peacetime pretty quick because they're going to take us out if not.
I think you and I, we need to go buy, a few thousand square miles of land and we build our own small little country and we start the civilization. And
we sound like Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged.
We go and then we find this guy, you know, John Galt,
Yeah.
and we build our own society based our own, you know, beliefs economically, and allow innovation and creativity, and very, very low key, you know, build our own country. What do you think about that, Robert?
Well, that's where the vaccine comes in, because the prediction is that if you're not vaccinated, you can't drive a car, you can't fly, you can't go to restaurants. It's the ultimate control.
They're going to be able to convince people to do that? You really think they're going to be able to force people to take a vaccine? I mean, I heard what Gates said the other day. Do you really think people are going to say yes? I mean, FDR back in 1933, when he made it illegal for us to own gold, there were still a lot of people that held on to their gold and they didn't give it back to the government and confiscate. They kept it for a long time. Do you really believe they can get everybody to take the vaccine?
Well, that's why London Real was taken down. That's why Alex Jones was taken. I'm not saying I agree with these guys. Zero Hedge was taken down. Okay. We're messing with big people here. You and I, you have a job, you know, every time I see your leadership, you're more important alive as a leader. And I'm just saying, and my business model was to create artifacts so people could teach people and get away from that school system, which is a criminal operation. When I say the schools are a criminal operation, you know, the question is, where did student loan debt come from? So today, student loan debt, if you look at, again, you look at this crash here, student loan debt is bigger than subprime debt. So if you understand the monetary system, is that the only way money can grow is to get people into debt. So when in September 2019, when the repo market, the shadow banking system, which is commercial paper and corporate credit and all that, you know, I mean, Ford is now junk. Ford is now junk. AT&T is now junk bond. They've destroyed the stock market. They've destroyed the corporations that keep the stock market afloat. The only ones left standing come out of Silicon Valley now. Google, Apple, YouTube, owned by Gates. So I'm treading on thin ice right now. So that's all I'm saying, Patrick. You're too valuable alive, and there's too many people counting on you to be the leader.
Robert, are you always this optimistic about you know, the future? You know, it's very, very, you know, everything's going to be all right. Are you always this positive and optimistic?
Well, the answer is the people who are like, you know, that said Bobby Farron's and don't worry, be happy, they're broke.
What a great.
You know, let me just say something to all of you listening right now. The next thing that's going to happen is my book, Who Stole My Pension? I promise you, the biggest news coming in about 6 months is that old guys like me are going to say, ¿Qué pasa? What happened to my pension? And they're going to have to work for the rest of their lives. They've become slaves. You know, in the word peasant, I think I said that to you. Peasant comes from the word paysan, a man of the land. And all of these employees are going to be paysans, but that's where MMT comes from, you know, modern monetary theory. I call it Marxist monetary theory, or UBI, Universal Basic Income. They're going to beg the government to send them that check every month. And they just started that this week. It's happening. We're now socialist and we're now communist because the Fed is going to take ownership of like Boeing and all these things. So it's central planning. It's called central bank, central planning. So we've gone communist. So are we like China? Absolutely. Absolutely. So am I a pessimist? Well, I'm a pessimist and an optimist. But that's why I'm in such good shape today, was because going back to this here, fake, I started buying gold in 1972 when it was illegal. So I was a criminal. My aircraft carrier sailed into Hong Kong, and while other guys were chasing women and beer, I said, who can sell me some gold? And my education began in the streets of Hong Kong. And I bought a Krugerrand from South Africa. It was about $50. I still have that Krugerrand, but is in some undisclosed foreign location that they can't come and take it from me. And I do it legally. You can hide gold legally, and you can hide gold illegally. So the government knows I have this gold, so I've done it legally, so they can't confiscate it that way. But it's not in this country. So I've been a pessimist about I just don't trust our leaders. I trust the mafia. I've never had anything to do with mafia. But at least the mafia, they're more honest. You break the rules, they kill you. These bureaucrats running our government, you break the rules, they give you a promotion and a bonus. Mafia guys are more honest. Okay? So that's am I a pessimist? Patrick, I have millions in gold and silver. I sleep very well at night. And every time the Treasury just announced they're going to print 10 trillion, the Fed's going to print 10 trillion. That's 20 trillion. They're going to destroy the dollar. So all of you guys out there, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Lesson number 1, the rich don't work for money because our money is toxic. Our money is fake. So they go, well, why do you have gold and silver? So it's because the more they print this money, which they will print more, going back to my little chart here, this baby coming down right now, they're printing gold and they're printing dollars. They're destroying Argentina, they're destroying Brazil, they're destroying Africa, they're destroying Australia, destroying Canada, destroying Mexico, because the dollar is a corrupt currency. Now, I can get shot for that, but it's not like messing with Bill Gates, you know what I mean? Anyway, the point here is this, wake up. So I have gold and silver, and when they destroy the dollar, which they will in about 10 years, I'll be better off. So am I a pessimist? Yes. Am I an optimist? Yes. That's called I'm a realist. That's the difference. And so all these Pollyanna people, I'm 50 years old now and I'm going to retire at 65. On what, sweetheart? On what? I was talking to my personal trainer. He says, I lost my job. My wife lost her job. And I said, yeah, but the economy will bounce back. And I said, well, what are you going to do differently? Oh, just work harder. That's an optimist.
So what do you tell him? What do you tell him?
I can't tell him anything, Patrick. The worst thing you can mess is with somebody's beliefs, if you know what I mean. Like if you believe Jesus is God, don't question it. If you believe Buddha is Buddha, don't question it. If Muhammad is God, hey, God bless Muhammad. You know what I mean? I don't mess with the beliefs. So if you believe the U.S. government is a good, honest people, and the Fed are really here to protect the economy, I don't mess with you. And if you believe in job security, I can't talk to you because that's your belief. Belief is B-lie, B-E-L-I-E. And so what you and I are doing, let me say it again to all you listeners out here, you guys got to keep Patrick Bet David alive and make him a peacetime leader. Don't go to war, because that was the same lesson my company gave to me. They said, Robert, don't go to war. When I get threatened on Twitter and all this other stuff, I want to go to war. But I can't. Our jobs are too important right now. So our job is to stay broadcasting, stay up. And I don't know what Gates owns, but I'm sure he can call anybody and say, shut down, the World Health Organization and all this stuff. I don't want to go there. That's not my territory.
So first of all, if you want to spend some time with some mafia friends, I've interviewed a few. I can make that introduction. There's probably one of the bigger ones actually lives where you live, only about 15 miles away from you. I don't know if you know who that one is. He's down from you.
Who?
A guy named Sammy the Bull Gravano. He's
oh God. I saw that interview.
Yeah, he's down the street from you, 15 miles from you.
Wow. He knows the rules, doesn't he?
The rules on based on what you said,
Yeah.
yes, it does. So Robert, so should I go live with the David Icke interview or should I not go live with the David Icke interview? Just kind of hang on to it and don't go live with it. Is that what you're suggesting?
You haven't released it yet?
No, I have not. I recorded it and we're right now editing it and we're going to be debating whether to go live with it or not. But we haven't yet. We didn't do it live. We recorded it and then we're going to release it.
So let me give you back what you taught me, my friend. Are you wartime or peacetime?
What do you think?
I know you want to go to war right now. And sometimes it's better not to. You're too important alive. That's the difference.
Robert, that's not too dramatic, Robert. That's not being too dramatic.
I'm not kidding you. My father, poor dad, ran for lieutenant governor of the state of Hawaii, and he took on the governor, who was an ex-police officer, and so the governor's best friend ran the Hawaiian syndicate, and my father messed with him. He never worked again. They took him out. He's alive, but they basically took all of his money away from him. He died. He died a poor man. I covered that in my book, Who Stole My Pension? That's how they got my dad, his pension. So that's why, there's no financial education in our schools. So you gotta figure out, Patrick, who's Superman and who's Superman cape you want to step on. And those are decisions that leaders have to make. I think I told the story last time. I had to decide not to fight, and that's the difference. So, wartime, peacetime, but also, on the optimistic side, I didn't know this was coming. I thought it would come in 2016, but it came in 2020. I just think that grunge would be this dastardly. Well, they just take people's livelihoods away and quarantine us and violate the Constitution of America. And I'm walking, I live in a very rich neighborhood and people won't talk to you. I'm afraid of my own neighbors now. So what happened with Corona was not the what do you call it, the virus. It's fear. They injected fear into all of us. That's the worst part they've ever done. I'm afraid to talk to people. Walking down my sidewalk and people will actually go across the street to avoid me. You know what I mean? The fear. And that's something that you and I understand, is that fear can paralyze you, but fear can also inspire you. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So when I feel fear, I want to attack. Other people want to run. And if you attack, those that run will attack you. But I just hear my prediction, okay? So I called it. It came in 2020, not 2016. The next issue will be pensions. And all of these people who live in Lallaville, oh, I'm now 65. Who stole my pension? What's going to happen to them? I have whole family members, Patrick, that will be coming to me for their pension on Kim's side and my side. They don't have any money. They're highly educated people like my poor dad. They have nothing.
That community I feel for. I will tell you this, because the whole idea of the fact that the wealthy is not going to be affected. The wealthy is going to be fine. And when I say the wealthy, I'm talking about the ultra high net worth, 30 million plus type of wealthy. I'm not talking about 1 million, 2 million. I think those guys can still take a hit. But I think the ultra high net worth guys are going to be fine. And I also think poor people are going to be fine. Let me explain what I mean by poor people. I think those who are not the workers, who would be glad to get unemployment checks, I think they're going to be fine. My concern is middle America to continue to grow. That's my biggest concern. And to continue to grow middle America, 75% of them are 3 paychecks away from being broke. Those are the guys that I'm concerned. And it's not like middle America doesn't want to work. It's not like middle America is not willing to get up there and do something. It's not like middle America doesn't want to do something about it. Do something about making their $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. I would even put $300,000 a year as a middle income family. I know statistics says otherwise, it's 5%, but to me, that income range is who's got to be protected. And the way you protect them is by making sure the small business owners protected, because 65% of jobs are created by the small business owners. And I will tell you, the part that we are similar is we're both having elements of paranoia. For me, I was born in Iran, so I'm born paranoid. I was born, when I came out of the womb, I was questioning if my mom was my mom, because Middle Easterns are born that way. We question everything, we don't trust everything. But on the other side, I also have a lot of optimism in people's abilities to think, people's ability to create, people's ability to innovate, and people's ability to come together and eventually question things. I'm at the office right now, just so you know, let me give you an idea of what my view looks like right now. I came to my office, my kid is over here because he's going crazy being at home. So he's doing his homework over here. I'm at the office, and I got 20% of my employees that are here. Everybody else is working from home. And people call me and they say, Robert, they say, Patrick, why are you working? Why are you at the office? Aren't you supposed to be by yourself at a place, away from everyone? I say, look, if the president at the top can work, if the military can work, if all these other essential industries can work, we're working. And then Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas, said, America needs Texas to go to work. I don't know if you saw that or not, where he gave a message, the governor of Texas, saying, America needs Texas to go to work. So for me, I'm just a believer in knowing that there's going to be some people that are going to sit around saying, you're not going to be able to push me around and bully me. I'm going to go do my part. And if you push people too long, like even the most patient man, my dad's one of the most patient people I know. He's so patient, it's ridiculous. Like, he's in a whole different level than me. There's only so many times my son or my daughter, his grandkids, can pull on his jacket until he finally says, knock it off. He can be more patient than me. Maybe I need 6 pulls and he needs 60, but eventually he says, stop it. I don't think you can push people around for too long. I don't think you can do that for too long. And I think sometimes the most powerful people in the world, this is my concern, Robert, and I'd be curious to know what you say about this. Here's my concern. My concern is that people eventually forget how powerful they are. People eventually are convinced by the government or the powerful politicians or whoever's at the top to say, oh, we're special. We can make all the decisions for you because we're smarter than you. And then the majority ends up believing that nonsense. That's my concern. I'm talking, myself. You talk about Rich Dad. That when I read your book in 1999, when I got out of the Army, it was the 3rd book I read. I told you this multiple times. Life-changing book. I'm from a family that's a 1.8 GPA family. I was a 1.8 GPA guy, divorced family. Parents got a divorce twice in 20 years. Born and raised in Iran, lived at a refugee camp right after high school. Army was the only option for me. Hey, you're a big, muscular guy. You lift 3 plates. Go to the Army. You'll do good. So I went into the Army, and then I got out. And then I was introduced to books, okay? I was introduced to books. Once I was introduced to books, Robert, then I couldn't be controlled. Once I was introduced to books, and I said, wait a minute, you got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me it's like this easy to make $1 million and you can be a decamillionaire, you can go out there and do this, and you can, wow. So why did I vote this way, and why did I like this politician, and why did I like, so maybe my dad was right in this area, and my mom was right in that area, and they were wrong in those other areas, and now I get how all of these other things are being used. And then I was free, if that makes sense. Then I was free. I became a free thinker. You know what it is, free thinker, free to choose. So whether it was capitalism and understanding Milton Friedman's philosophies of what he was doing, I just went deep. So my biggest concern is that I hope people don't get to a point where they're kind of like, oh, that's it. The powers at the top tell me what to do, and I'm just going to follow orders. Because in a sense, if you do, it's a different form of being in jail today if you're sitting around. It's just the jail doesn't have a cell. It just happens to be your own house. And I don't think they can go like this for too long. I just don't think they can go like this for too long. I think the people are eventually, as the masses, going to get sick of it, and then they have to listen to it. So again, I've been wrong before. I may be wrong again, but I bank on people cannot be bullied and pushed around for too long until they flip. Almost the most patient man in the world will flip if you push him for too long. I may be wrong, Robert, but that's how I see this thing.
So let me push you one more level beyond that.
Please.
Because you're still a young man. And like I said, when I wrote this book, Fake Here, and I wrote Who Stole My Pension? My father was 6'4", but that's pretty big for Japanese. PhD. But when he lost his pension, he became a wimp. Look, I want to let people know without money, people's spirits drain out of them. So I'll say it again, is I got my best education surfing. Every big wave surfer knows that the biggest waves come in threes. So we just got number 3. It came down in threes too in March. Boom, boom, boom. I'm predicting the next way they can control us is because there's no pensions. Mark my words. CalPERS, California State Pension,
Yep.
is broke. Illinois is broke. Kentucky is broke. 401ks are toast. These hedge funds are toast. So the question I say to people, you can be positive thinking all you want, but what's going to happen when they make the money toxic, which it already is? It doesn't buy anything anymore. That's what happened in Egypt with Arab Spring. Was inflation went through the roof on them, and that's when they started to riot. They couldn't eat. You look at the homelessness all across America. That's what happens. So the future is actually more of those homeless people I see all over Hawaii and California and Seattle and all this. And so without money, if it's not in your brain, you don't know how to create it. And that's all I'm saying to people. The Fed controls the money as well as the U.S. Treasury. And at this moment, as we speak, they're going to print 10 trillion more, 10 trillion more. And we don't know anything about money. So you can be like my poor dad, great guy, positive thinker, PhD, but when they took his fucking pension away, he turned into a pile of jelly. And that's what's going to happen, Patrick. The next crisis is not Corona crisis. The next crisis is pensions. You mark my words on that. That's why the 401k was created in 1974. That's what Who Stole My Pension is about. So when I talk to all these positive thinking sons of a bitches, they're the ones who are going to turn on you when they don't have any money. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, oh, you worry too much, You don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, what's going to happen when you get ill? Because, illness, most of the Corona guys are old guys who didn't take care of their health. That's the fact, Jack. I'm old, but I take care of my health. I have the money to have concierge health care. I afford the best. So I should be target market for coronavirus. Kim had it. She shook it. That was a test she took. She's fine. I had it too. I shook it. But once a person takes their money away, like they did my poor dad, that's what I wrote about in Who Stole My Pension. Without money, Patrick, people can't function. And then they turn into primates, animals, desperate. They'll take government MMT, I call it Marxist monetary theory, UBI. Kang was going to give everybody $1,000 because we have no financial education in our schools. So we can be positive and all that, but I tell you what, right now I have brothers and sisters in their 70s. I know who is going to be their pension. It's me. So I was a dumb shit surfer. It comes in waves of threes. It happened in 2020, the peak, with 3 waves down already. It's never fallen so fast, Patrick. They're printing money to stop the Hindenburg from going into the ground. They're bailing out the rich. You know it. I know it. But now they have to come up with MMT to keep the poor and the middle class from rioting and killing each other. This is not an accident, is what I'm saying. The coronavirus was just the red black swan that Nazim Taleb talks about. And what is revealing is exactly as Buffett said, who's swimming naked? You and I know those hedge funds are broke. Right now, my best friend just sold his business for $1.8 billion to a hedge fund. He says, I fucked them all. Because they don't know anything about real estate. They're hedge fund guys. So now their properties are crashing. Commercial real estate is crashing. Debt is going to pile to the ceiling. That's the shadow banking system. And when I talk to even my highly educated friends, they don't know what the repo market is. They don't know what commercial paper is. They don't know that Ford went from triple B to junk. They don't know. They say, oh, what's the stock market doing today? They don't know, Patrick. So that's why I created the cash flow board game. I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all this. So people have got to start teaching people. Positive thinking is stupidity. If you're broke, you've got to have something between this ear and that ear. You got to know assets from liabilities. You can go see the balance sheets. That's all I'm saying. I've been saying it for 20-something years now.
So here's a question for you. If you're saying you don't know what to say, if you're saying there's no solutions, if you're saying pensions are going out, which by the way, I'm in the industry. We've known that for a while with pensions and Social Security. Robert, why should anybody buy your books? Why should anybody buy your books right now if you're thinking doom and gloom, if that's around the corner?
Because Patrick, you know the answer.
Please.
Out of 100 people, 4 will get the message. You see it every day in your work. I see it every day in my work. I see all the positive thinking guys. Oh, I just stay, don't worry, be happy. Go to Margaritaville. Look at the millennials. They're the biggest in-debt generation in history. Look at what we've done to our kids. How much financial education do our schools put out? 0. Is that an accident? That's all I'm asking people to think. But all these guys who are positive, I don't have to worry. My personal trainer, they're unemployed now. He says, yeah, but we're very successful people. I said, but you know nothing about money. So some people will get educated, 96% won't. That's the odds.
So there's still an out for people to, throughout these times, capitalize and create wealth and take care of their own.
There's a difference between money and long-term wealth. Look, I don't know if you know this, but I don't have a financial planner. I have a private office. I have a team of advisors, of accountants, attorneys, bookkeepers, and all this. I run as a business. This Corona crisis, whatever it is making me a very rich man. I have millions of dollars of gold and silver. I'm completely out of the stock market. I don't need a pension. That was my plan. It wasn't a mistake. Lesson number 1 in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the rich don't work for money. And the average person says, yeah, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I got a lot out of it. I said, you get lesson 1. And the reason lesson 1 is important is because right here is 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard and it became fake. And so people are so desperate today. Cash, money, whatever they call it today, is like intravenous. It's a drug. Money is a drug. They just stick it in my veins, baby. Stick it in my veins so I can feel good for today. Let me pay my bills. Let me pay my mortgage. That's where they are today, Patrick. You know that. I know that. You take that money away. What has happened all over the world, like in Argentina, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, they're going to riot. You know that. I know that. I love Australia. The Aussie dollar dropped from 80 to 55 cents. I say that to average person. Where's Australia? That's how stupid Americans are. That's how stupid they are. Highly educated, stupid people like my rich dad, my poor dad. So that's why I do what I do. So the question I ask the people who are watching, here's get out before that, or it's called wipeout. And millions right now, Patrick, you know it and I knew it, are being wiped out as we speak. As we speak, as Buffett said, people are swimming naked. They're going to turn in the keys to their Lexus, their condos, their second house. My friends who are in commercial real estate, they're hurting, man. They were rich, but their tenants are moving out. Retail, restaurants. And I don't think that was a mistake. I think the coronavirus is a cover-up for the September 2019 crash of the repo market. And it's in who stole my pension. And the average person I'm talking to right now, they don't know what the repo market is. They don't know the shadow banking system. They don't know commercial paper. They don't know any of that. That's the problem. And that's what I've been saying. You know, like I said, I was cruising along here. I saw this wave building. So as a surfer, I go, okay, something's coming, something's coming. It's no longer a shore break. This one's big. And that's when right here, I wrote a cash flow board game, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Prophecy. I said, this is coming. So you go to richdad.com. You can see me on CNN. In January 2008, I'm telling Wolf Blitzer, Lehman is going down. And he got upset because it got out. It's not supposed to get out. It's like the coronavirus out of Wuhan was not supposed to get out, supposedly. But once it got out, then they never invited me back. So go to richdad.com and look up CNN, Wolf Blitzer. I'm calling it 6, 7, 8 months early. If people had got out, they wouldn't have lost everything. I got out way back here in Vietnam. I saw the light in Vietnam. I said, why am I killing people here? Why am I killing them? Why? What did they ever do to me? And you, being from Iran, know this. I know this. Why? You know what I'm talking about. Because your country, it's the hot spot right now. You know, because you stood up to America. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I agree or disagree. But you know you don't stand up to America because they'll send the drones in. You know, fucking drone pilots are cowards, man. You fire that drone missile, you hit one target, but you kill 20 people alongside, and you're never in danger. You know, a drone pilot just sits back in Langley, Virginia, and fires his rocket or drops whatever they do today. And they kill people with no risk to themselves. When I was killing people, I had to kill them up front. They could kill me too. I had to go onto the ground and pick up my guys who were wounded. But now America just kills them from the air indiscriminately. That's why I do and I say what I do. So my friend, peacetime, wartime. I ask you that question, and let all the people listening, the people that are counting on you to stay alive, you better get smarter, go peacetime. There's enough fights out there. We don't have to choose. Pick our, you know, the old saying, pick our women and our battles wisely. You know, you don't want to fight two battles. So be careful. We're treading on Superman's cape right now. That was David Icke.
So Minnie Mouse is better to be Minnie Mouse today than Superman.
Get smarter. Look, I have all of these artifacts. This is an artifact. It's in 50 languages. They take me out, it's still out there. My board game, it's an artifact. They can take me out, it's still out there. Do you know what I mean? That's what I learned from Buckminster Fuller. I don't have financial planners because they work for Wall Street. Nothing wrong with them, but I don't need them. I don't need Wall Street to make money. I have millions in gold and silver stored outside the country. You know why? Because if I have to run, I'm running. I'll leave it all behind.
Robert, some may say you're scared. What do you have to say to that? Some may say, is Robert scared right now?
Yeah, I don't want to be stupid.
So you'd rather be stupid?
Look, let me just say something. You know, I went to Vietnam twice. If I was scared, I wouldn't have gone like these pussies who stayed behind and spit on me when I came back, who became school teachers, professors, lawyers. You know, I went to court in New York, and the judge said, I don't like you, and I don't like Donald Trump. Those are the people that are afraid. I lost the case because she didn't like Donald Trump, and she didn't like me. She ruled against me just on that principle. That's the left, as you know. And I don't take sides, right or left, I stand aside. But let me tell you something. If you've ever surfed, the biggest wave I ever surfed was 16 feet. The reason I surfed the 16-footer, because that was it. There was one coming behind of it. I still remember that day. I cut school, a high school student. I went out, and I was going, holy mackerel. So I'm trying for the smaller waves, and I go out and I go, and somebody yells, outside. Outside means there's this wave coming. So I decided to take the smaller one at 16 feet. I never went out again. You know why? Because fear taught me something important. You're not good enough yet. You haven't practiced enough yet. To ride this is a different ride. My best friend, not my best friend, but one of my closest friends, Carl Roner, he died next year at Sunset Beach. Big wave surfing is not for pussies. What you and I are doing is not for pussies. That's the difference. We manifest our fear and we focus it in different ways. The real cowards are ones that walk around me on the street and look at me like I don't have a mask on. That's the coward. It's the coward that's going to say, well, where's my check from the government? Or where's my retirement? That's the coward. Fear is false evidence. We all have it. It's what do you do with it?
So I think we should finish on that. The first time we did it on your live, it went ballistic. The second time we're doing it on mine, it's going nuts. I think we have enough for me and you. I'm sure that one's going to be nuts.
And stay alive, my friend. You stay alive.
Yes. Yes. So by the way, Robert, for everybody else that's watching, a lot of you guys are saying save this live. I'm going to save this live on Valuetainment short clip. Robert, I'll send it to you if you could share it on your Insta, and I'll share it as well so I can find it. And we'll do this again in the next few days. Robert, you're a great storyteller. You're great to listen to and very insightful. And you just keep same message. You stick to it so eloquently. And your ability to give metaphors and stories from the past is at a whole different. You're black belt 8th degree when it comes down to that. So appreciate your time, buddy. Really, I really enjoyed it. The more and more we're doing this, it's getting even better for the audience. I'm looking forward to our next one.
Thank you, too. One last word. The most important time, the best feeling in the world was when I strapped in with my co-pilot. That's when you know a band of brothers. And you're like my brother out there, so you stay alive.
Much love, man. Much love. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.